What's the creepiest askreddit thread you have come across? There was one that asked entertainers for children parties about wild stuff from these parties. The amount of children that asked fake Superman, Spider-Man or fairy godmother to be taken away from abusive parents. A long time ago I spent a day stuck in a caboose with a professional Santa. He told me about how there is so much more to that job than you would think. And a lot of it is how to recognize the signs of abuse and subtly coax enough information of a kid to make a report without looking like that's what they are doing. That surreal Santa makes me believe again. I don't know if creepy or just insane story. It was about a guy who just up and left his entire life. How the 9th of November 2001 happened, and on that day he just got up and left New York City. His job, friends, possessions, like completely went dark. Moved to another place far away, went by a new name, started a new life. He went into a ton of detail about everything he left behind and what it was like having a clean break. Acknowledged people would be sad and hurt. It's assumed he died that day, but apparently he just got sick of everything and just disappeared to start life over again. Not sure. Creepy. Definitely. Mind-blowing. I'm curious about the logistics of that. He must have bought fake IDs? I don't get the impression that he was hiding from the government. Just walking away from his friends and family and job. When you do that, it's those people who go looking for you. And when it's obvious that you died in 9/11, why would they look further? He could just go somewhere else and change his name and nobody would even be looking for him. Because he went missing in 9/11. He could literally publish his name changes legally required in the local paper of record. And nobody in his old life would be looking for it because he died in 9/11. And why would they be checking for his name in every random newspaper in America, you know? The Has Anyone Met a Serial Killer thread from years back had some genuinely disturbing stories. People casually describing interactions with someone who turned out to be a murderer as wild. Also any thread about national park disappearances gets unsettling fast. I do a lot of mountain biking and I've been down some really long, deep in the woods trails. I always get really creeped out when I see another person. 9 times out of 10 they are just hiking. But I remember I saw this one dude running through the woods in street clothes. Baseball hat, jeans, jacket, not anything you'd wear in the woods or hiking. He wasn't on the trail, but literally running through the brush and woods. About a mile later I see him again, and I immediately started pedaling as fast as I could to get back to my car. I assumed there was a homeless/drug tent somewhere in the area, but damn, I was like 5 miles deep. All I could think is some shady large drug deal in a remote area and they were looking for me. Not a hiking story, but I was driving around in my hometown and I saw a guy come out of a wooded area on a bike, which isn't weird at all. But then he stops on a bridge, takes his shoes off, throws his shoes in the creek, throws his backpack in, then throws his bike in, and starts running into the other side of the woods. It was years ago in the middle of the day in a shitty part of town, but I still wonder what he had gotten himself into. One askreddit thread about the worst things veterans have witnessed while in combat. 2 instances come to mind. 1. Afghanistan. One Marine was talking about their love for another Marine in a secret relationship, being in the same platoon. One day, they are handing out candy to the local kids in a village, and one of the kids runs up with a stuffed animal. The stuffed animal had an IED in it and blew up the kids and the Marine. The one Marine who was telling this story described how there was a numbness to when the pieces of the other Marine were picked up and put into bags. 2. Vietnam. Guy recalls a heartbreaking instance where a kid was shot. Kid was a little girl who loved to draw and practice English with the American soldiers. One day, she comes walking towards them with a new backpack. The LT sees the backpack and freaks out, pulling out his pistol, yelling at the girl to drop it. There have been instances of EC hiding explosives in bags and other things. The little girl doesn't understand because it's in English and keeps walking with a smile. LT then shoots the girl dead. Upon investigation, the backpack was filled with crayon drawings of the American soldiers. LT fucked up. The rest of the soldiers scrounged up money and paid for the funeral and other expenses for the girl's family. The mom said nothing but a simple thank you. The vet went on to explain how that moment ruined him for life. Edit. This is from a long ago askreddit thread. Whether or not the stories above are legit, IDFK in all honesty, this is what the redditors who replied wrote. Honestly, those people living in your walls threads still haunt me. I couldn't sleep after reading them. This happened to me, except he was living in my basement that I avoided like the plague. Undetected for what I believe was probably several months. I was a 21-year woman living alone with my toddler. To make it worse, how did you find out he was there? My landlord stored a lot of stuff down there and he went down there for something. I don't know what. He was a carpenter, so he used it as a warehouse of sorts. The perfect place for someone to squat in the dark. Hence why I never went down there, lol. The irony. This was like 10 years ago. He had a nest of blankets behind some boxes in the back of the basement. He pushed my landlord down and ran in. The police found him hiding in a trash can down the street. He had a bunch of small objects like lighters, a bowl, pocket knife, etc. that had gone missing. I always brushed it off as me losing stuff because I'm always losing stuff, and it was also inconsequential. Nothing of real value. He was definitely entering my apartment when I wasn't home. And looking back, I think one time when I was in the shower, I remember reading a confession that someone made a couple of years ago admitting to accidentally killing a kid with disabilities. Yeah, I vaguely remember something like that. Wasn't it a few kids out and about somewhere, maybe in a park, and they bullied the disabled kid? Then something ended up happening and they ran off and left him and never knew what became of him? Yeah, I remember that. The disabled kid fell down from a tree house of something. The op said he never forgot the noises he was making while having a seizure/fit on the ground. That always stuck with me. Hopefully, he actually survived. He didn't, because he was never seen again. Lines up with a missing persons case from the 80s. Likely that a heavy storm hid the body away. I came across a post a while back something like, "Doctors of Reddit, what's the worst injury or case you've ever seen?" In it, someone shared a horrifying story about a 1-year-old girl who had her lips numbed at the dentist, then ended up chewing off her entire bottom lip. She required multiple surgeries to repair the damage. Just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. //www. reddit.com/r/askreddit/al2zw8/medical_professionals_of_reddit_ when_did_you_have/ff67r utm_medium=android_app and utm_source=share takes me way back. So, when I was a teen, my mom was dating this guy that was friends with a family that had a special needs child. He was quadriplegic, amongst other issues, but had the warmest spirit. When we'd visit, I'd spend hours with him operating a slot machine game for him. You'd think it would get tiring after a bit, but not really. His joy was just that infectious. Anyway, before I met him, he'd had an episode in which he bit off his lower lip. He could feel everything. He just physically could not stop himself. There was this askreddit thread I read in 2019, where social workers were talking about the worst cases of child abuse they had seen. It horrified me to my core so much that I didn't sleep that night and felt horrible for hours. We are talking 9 to 10-year-old boys with incontinence issues due to abuse. And the one that stuck to me was this girl who refused to smile because her father forced her to smile while he was sexually assaulting her violently. Not sure if you'd define it as creepy, but it was traumatizing. There was a case I had read about on Reddit that was so horrific it too would plague me while I slept. It was especially bad during the early newborn days for my daughter because the victim was a 5-month-old baby who had begun being abused as soon as she was brought home from the hospital. I would look at my tiny little baby with this fragile little body and all she wanted to do was be curled into a ball on my chest 24/7, and I would be filled with the most intense rage towards the other baby's abusers. I feel I know exactly what case you're referring to, and I read it around the time my niece was 8 months old. How anyone can do that to an infant just leaves me with no words to properly convey my emotional rage. Also, the mother has served her time and is supposedly out of prison. I disagree with this and feel like she should stay locked up till her last breath. Just like her child. Young woman was pregnant with her new boyfriend's baby. They moved in with his mom. He always tries to get her to stay in the room and rest for the baby until one day the young woman hears strange, passionate knocking and moaning. Long story short, she thinks BD is having sex with his mom and she's too scared to confront them. I saw a now deleted vid on that exact story. I'm pretty sure, from what the op wrote, the mother had been raping the boyfriend since he was a child. And I'm talking like 6-7 years old. Whole thing was super fucked up to listen to. Had a happy ending. At least. Op was able to help her BF pull away from his pose mother. Was that the /episode where the narrator got in trouble with the community for saying the victim was asking for / deserved it? Or should / probably enjoyed it? Or something along those lines? Somehow not surprised. Disgusted and disappointed, but not surprised that someone had that take considering the victim. Woman had her soon-to-be ex-husband commenting on things she did when he was not at the house. Couldn't find the cameras. Never updated again. This was 9+ years ago. For me, it's the woman whose husband and father-in-law were absolutely 100% convinced that she was going to die in childbirth and there was no update on what happened after she had her kid, so it just reads like her husbands and father-in-law were planning on murdering her. I remember reading this. She would have had her baby now. Did she ever post an update? Yes. There was an update. She's okay, thank God. Do you have a link to that? Or the original post? Boru post, https://www.reddit.com/r/bistoffredditor update/s/wgpbwmxbl5. That one where the boyfriend was feeding his girlfriend her ground up pet slugs at it. I shouldn't have to say this, but leave her alone, guys. What? https://www.reddit.com/r/bistoffredditor update/s/xd54 hubsp4. I looked at her profile, and she seems to be getting engaged now to a different and much healthier man. She looks like she's doing well, which is the good part. Clicking her profile and seeing the engagement ring post was such a huge relief. The carbon monoxide post-it notes. What's also funny is that over the years I've learned that if someone thinks their house is haunted, it usually means they have a co-problem. In 80% of cases. That's it. There actually was a TV show called Ghost House Inspector, where they would send a psychic and a house inspector. The psychic would claim 1,000,000 ghosts and the inspector would constantly discover bad ventilation and the doors were all incorrectly hung, and that's why they would swing open. Loved that show. Oh, there's tortured spirits screeching in the attic. Y'all got raccoons F in the walls up there. Is this show around somewhere? I need this. There's a good sub for stuff like this. r/Creepiest Reddit. The worst one I saw was probably one of the trauma-based questions. I completely forget the post name honestly, but only one comment stuck out. User went over an event where they had to give CPR to an infant. They explained how they accidentally burst the baby lungs by blowing too much air. Absolutely traumatizing. From what I can remember, it ended up killing the baby. Even typing it out makes me sad. Okay, while I see how this was very traumatizing for everyone involved, I want to emphasize that whenever someone is in need of CPR, they are already dead. This complication is pretty common, even when professionals are performing CPR on infants. Causing it or other complications does not equal killing someone. Quite the opposite. If you do not start CPR, the patient is condemned to certain death. You give them a chance to live by performing CPR. Yes, you might not be successful, but resuscitation is never guaranteed in a CPR situation, even if the highest standard of care is available. If you notice someone being lifeless in your proximity, it is of utmost importance that you make sure professional help is coming and start CPR without any delay. Don't be afraid to do something wrong, for you are the best chance these patients have. I have done CPR 3 times. I'm 023. There was a thread once where someone asked people who had raped another person to explain why. This was a really long time ago, and it might have even been in that r/askreddit sub, or whatever it was that is now banned. The feelings I got scrolling through that thread was visceral fear, Seem to remember the thread getting locked down as some of the respondents were getting off retelling what they had done. It wasn't just that. It was also all the redditors doting on the poor rapists, reassuring them that everyone makes mistakes and how amazing it is that they've reformed and become a better person. I came across an askreddit thread I read a while ago asking about the experiences of teens who went through the troubled teen industry. How this industry still exists in 2025 blows my mind. I honestly have some respect for Paris Hilton for speaking up against these, especially since she was a victim of them. I was in the same lockdown, Provo Canyon school, the same year as Paris and Daryl. Anytime I try to speak up about it, the response I receive is that was decades ago. You need to get on with your life. And no one likes a complainer, at best, and at worst, maybe you deserved it? There is no magic way to phrase it. That I survived that troubled teen industry, without it inviting judgment and placing the person to whom I'm disclosing the information in the position of being the arbiter as to whether or not the abuse was justified, intended, get overable, or even qualifies as abuse at all. You'd have to be as rich as Paris to even get a platform. That one where all the truckers are talking about the weirdest tests they've seen. https://www.reddit.com/r/askreddit/s/qk4vixar. I'm not clicking that, but I choose to believe that whole thread is Mothman creepy, not true crime creepy. As a treat, it's specifically paranormal stuff. This one takes the cake. You wanna go upstairs? https://www.reddit.com/r/armor/s/x7s6gdtzek. Oh man, that's such a throwback, guys. If you're ever wondering what a reference to Two Broken Arms is, it's that. Still better than the comebacks. Oh, I thought it was the guy whose girl had blocked off the entire top floor of their house and kept getting deliveries, and he had absolutely zero curiosity to know what was going on. Just asked if it was normal or something benign like that, and the comments were desperately trying to convince him that he needed to be curious. Lolita found it. https://www.reddit.com/r/relationship_advice/s/cn6vx09 lad. It took him 8 weeks to even start to get suspicious. Wait, I missed this one apparently. What was being set up? All the posts from bots that ask the same exact questions, which is most of them. Bots seem everywhere on Reddit now. What's funny is that we almost do seem perfect for training AI, because we always flock to answer these same questions with the same answers. What's the truth about life people aren't really for? No one has come in to savvy you, women of Reddit. What do you find attractive about men? Rolled up sleeves. Easily the ones where people talk about near-miss encounters with strangers, like someone realizing they narrowly avoided being kidnapped or stalked. Those threads always stick with me way more than the paranormal stuff. When I was in first grade, a car drove up waiting to get picked up, and this guy told me to get in. My mom couldn't make it, and she asked him to pick me up. He was fast talking, convincing, and I almost did it. Thankfully, a teacher/monitor noticed the car and guy talking out the window to me. I must have looked confused or uncomfortable as she walked up to me and said "excuse me" to him, and he immediately drove off. Very shortly after, my mom came driving up. I think about what if this was the 80s in the Pacific Northwest too, where there happened to be a lot of active serial killers. It's more in hindsight, but I've made it my mission to inform people every time there's a thread here about what's the most disturbing book you've read. There will be a guy, in graphic detail, describing this book, where prisoners are punished with things relating to their crimes. He will describe an animal abuser getting locked in a room with dog breath. And there will be a guy, the same guy, when people reply to the first comment, trying to get people to describe how bad it would be. I saw his posts for ages. I talked to this guy many times. I thought we were uncovering an old lost book, because I thought the concept was interesting. So, a few months ago, I went to a horror bookshop here to see if they could help me find it, and to their credit, they genuinely were. Gave me plenty of good leads, but it turned out there isn't a book. It's years long, spans multiple subs. Fetish. This guy has made posts time after time, bringing people into his fetish for animal breath, and as one person found, was being a troll about sea lion vomit. This sub, definitely his biggest victim. No stupid questions. The zookeeper sub, prison sub, probably more. That he posts on about this fetish, it disgusts me. That I ended up just another person he was being creepy to. That he does this to innocent people . So I've made it my cause to let people know about this godforsaken degenerate edit. Don't reply to the Dagmar __ over by all ISIS-taken people. I'm very sure that's him. His word choices are undeniably the same edit too. Guy actually found another comment I made the other day to talk about dog breath. Definitely him.